In this video, we're going to talk about how do we take all this data that we've gathered over these last few weeks and actually put them into action. And we're going to talk about optimizing our content for AI overview and more. Thanks so much for checking out this video. If this is your first time watching, or maybe been watching a while and you haven't yet hit subscribe, please do so now. We create new content to help you grow your visibility across search engines, as well as learning how to really adapt in this ever-changing world of digital marketing. As I said really quickly, we're going to be talking about optimizing our content for AI overview and more. And the reality is it's a science and an art. You have to use both of these things together in order to really grow your visibility in today's search. Before we get into the how-to, I want to just kind of lay a little bit of foundation work first. So let's talk about this difference between science and art. It's very much a trial and error process. So the things that I'm going to show and share in this video, they're not foolproof by any means. We're going to be implementing these, and we're going to be tracking and testing, and we're going to continue to experiment to see what makes sense for each of the queries that we are going after. That means patience is required. Now, a lot of people in the SEO space have a hard time being patient, even though it does take time for things to rank. This really applies today because so much is changing. Nearly every day something is changing. And what you'll see is that these types of search results, specifically from the LLMs, are extremely volatile. If you don't like Google rankings changing a lot, you're really going to have a hard time with how fast an LLM can change its opinion on content. So let's talk really quickly too about the elephant in the room. Traditional search still matters. And the things that we're doing today will actually help you for traditional search as well. So 95% of Americans still use traditional search monthly. That's a lot of people, right? Most people are using traditional search. 40% of Americans are using AI tools monthly, while 20% are actually heavy users of these AI platforms. And this is coming from SparkToro research. So that means we still need to invest in our traditional search, and then we also want to branch out into these other areas to increase our brand's visibility and really find ways to connect with people at all stages of their journey. So a little bit about the adoption lifecycle, and I've talked about this before, and it's something that is extremely important to understand. This was first created by Jeffrey Moore in his book, Crossing the Chasm. It's a great book if you haven't read it before. And we are seeing ourselves kind of actually move through these early adopters. We're not quite, I don't think, in the early majority, just because people really aren't fully grasping generative AI fully. But what we can see is when you start to go from innovators to early adopters, you sometimes do see a little bit of a slowing down before we cross that chasm. So AI tool adoption right now, statistically, is plateauing. And it's not a zero-sum game. AI tools are not completely replacing traditional search. I know myself, I use multiple tools when I'm searching today because I know how they work and I know the different results that I'm going to get. It allows me to have a little bit more of a balanced opinion. But everybody right now has not fully grasped this new view or this new idea of search. So we have to keep all of these things in play when we're optimizing. Now, the one thing that people are using it for is complementary use. So a lot of the new ChatGPT users in the SparkToro study were actually increasing their Google search activity after initially starting in ChatGPT. Or an LLM. So what people do is they'll have these broad questions and they'll ask the large language model, specifically ChatGPT in this case, a question, and then it'll give them some answers, and then people will then Google the results that they're getting from ChatGPT. So these are actually complementary tools, and it's really important if we're looking at a full funnel strategy. Now, AI search is different, right? Volatility is heavy. AI mode specifically results in very highly unstable results and can change frequently, sometimes within the same day. There's a lot of source discrepancy too between AI modes and AI overview. There's actually very low overlap. There's also low overlap between AI overviews, traditional organic search as well. So if we want to have visibility across the board, we need to make sure that we're showing up in all of these different platforms. The link structure is also different. Each AI mode answer includes 12.6 links, with most of those being block links to the right of the main text box. And we're starting to see a mixture, and you'll see in the result in the research that we're going to look here in a second, of expanded results in links showing up in AI overviews as well, but they're not always the same. And this is coming from a study from SE Ranking, and I'll make sure that I cite and link both of these sources. Google also highly favors itself, right? There's a lot of links to its own properties in AI mode, specifically when we're looking local, like Google Maps. So if you're a local business, this matters huge. But also one of the areas where we rank the best when it comes to AI search is our YouTube channel. Google does heavily favor its own properties within these different modes. Okay, so with all of this being said, let's get into the practical how to. How do we take a piece of content, optimize it for better visibility both in AI overviews, AI mode, and traditional search? So the first thing we want to do is look at our research. We want to review the data. Now we've done some of this before. We collected some data in our past videos, and we've been tracking for quite a while. So I'm over here in my SE Ranking project, and I can go over to, I already have it pulled up here, but my AIO tracker. And I want to look specifically at this term, because the page I want to optimize is what is generative engine optimization, or GEO. Now, as you can see here in August 6th, we can see there's 12 sites ranking, and there's actually a lot of similarity between the 6th all the way to the 8th. Then we notice in the 8th, it jumps from 12 to 16. And then we see it change again on the next day. We see different mentions happening here in the AI mentions as well as the source links. Sometimes there's no mentions, sometimes there's quite a bit. Then we see some stability. But we notice that it drops to 12 links again. Then it drops to 7 links, then 6 links, then back up to 13 links. So you're seeing here just an immense amount of volatility through tracking this over time. Now, the reason this is helpful is I can look at all these different pages. Now, search engine land's doing pretty well. YouTube doing well here. In fact, we can see what are these different YouTube links as well, whose videos are showing up. And you can see there's 3 different videos. One of those links was us a few days ago. And that was September 2nd. But then look at this. We go to the 3rd. Those YouTube videos now are gone. And it's back to these types of links, with the major mentions being ChatGPT, AI Overview, and Perplexity as far as brands go. So we see a lot of volatility. We can also go over and we're running this same thing in keyword.com. The reason I like to look at a couple different sources is to make sure that I have accurate data, because data changes. Even if we're only looking at APIs, which is probably better than just trying to Google search on our own, because it's going to be a little bit more pure. But the reality is all of these results are very much organized around the user, and there's a lot of extra data going in there as well. All right, so let's look at the results here for a search like this. As you can see, ton of volatility in the brands over time, tons of different changes. These are the different changes over time. The sediment's kind of in the middle, but we see SEO.com, ChatGPT, Google, Write-Sonic, Walker Sands, Surfer, Zapier, Gemini, all of these different tools showing up. So we know there's volatility. We know there's a number of different brands that we're facing against in this. And if you remember in our last video, one of the things we did was take all of this data and we put it into a notebook using Notebook LM. Now, if you remember in our last video, there's a lot of things that you can do with a tool like Notebook LM. The reason I like using this for just some preliminary research, especially if you are not very technical, is it allows you to do some retrieval. Allows you to see kind of how your content would interact within a very close-knit RAG system, which is retrieval augmented generation. And allows you to see a mind map where it will build out some of the core concepts that are happening all across these different pages, and allow you to really understand what's being covered in the content here. Now, what I want to do, because I want to optimize my piece of content, I'm going to remove my content right now as a source, because I don't want my information to interject right now. I want to see what's happening in the actual site pages that are ranking. And so I can use this little tool here that says mind map. Now that I click mind map, I've got it over here and I can see generative engine optimization and the main points. Now, definition, importance, how does it work? What are the differences between SEO? What are the similarities? What are the benefits, drawbacks, challenges, core principles, measuring, benchmark, evaluation, and the future. This is a really good start, right? These are some things I should cover in each of these sections. Now that I have this content and this mind map specifically, it can actually help me build out a brief of my content or an extension of my content. One of the things I'm doing is I do have some multimodal content happening on this page. If you remember, I've got a YouTube video here. So I know that that's good. AI search likes multimodal. But what about the text itself? How am I structuring the text? One great thing about looking at a mind map is it gives me a little bit of an order of how this content should be presented within a confined structure. So anytime you're answering a question, specifically a question like what is, the first thing that a user is looking for is a definition. And that's what we're seeing here at the top. What is it? And I need to define it. So I need to go here and look at my page. At the top of my page, I have this AI summary built in. What I actually am going to do, because I don't think it does a good job of answering that definition from a user's perspective, is I'm going to remove this content. And I'm going to add here, add definition. I need to make sure that I'm starting off on the right foot, that I'm giving some good information right away. Again, this isn't foolproof, but this is a great test. Importance of it 2025 and beyond. Now, I do kind of cover this concept, right? But I could probably expand it here.
Generative engine optimization (GEO) is in.
Now, I do cover it slightly, but I could probably expand it a little bit more. I do like adding in these synonyms, and the reason I like adding in these synonyms is sometimes there's multiple different words for the same thing. The next thing I want to do is look what's next. What's next kind of in this mind map of what we should be covering? The importance of generative engine optimization today and in the future. I've got the importance of it right here. So I am covering that section. So I may be having that pretty good, which is great. What are some of the differences? I cover that, right? We saw that in there. Notice, though, I need to also add in similarities. So I can come back under here and go add in similarities. Yeah. Thank God for spell check, right? Right now, I'm just going high level, right? What are some of the benefits of generative engine optimization? All right, key components, user engagement, relevant content, implementing, understanding algorithms. So I get into a lot of stuff here. I've got some measurements, which is really good. I've got some future trends and analysis. But notice I'm also missing benefits, drawbacks, and challenges. I do talk about strategies. I do talk about measuring performance, some benchmarks and implication, but I'm really missing the benefits and the drawbacks and challenges. So we can add those in. Benefits, add drawbacks and challenges. Even with these sections alone, I probably would start to see a better ranking of this page just by optimizing it around here. So this is good ideas, but I don't want to leave it like that. I actually want to continue to expand these and see how can I really build in more of these sections into my content. Now you can use whatever tool that you're using to create content, and you can really just create a content brief out of all of these different concepts, which should be great. Now I am going to share one tool that I did create that can also help us expand a little bit further to see how we're performing against some of these other search results. What I've done is I've actually created a tool using OpenAI and a platform called Gradio, and it's hosted on Hugging Face. So you need to have an OpenAI key, but I'll also link out to this tool. And you can put in your target keyword. In our case, it is what is generative engine optimization. Pick a couple URLs. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a couple of the sites here that I am competing against, and I'm going to put them into my tool. You can do up to 5 URLs, and not everybody's site is going to let you actually crawl. So there's some sites you may run this and it'll give you an error. So this is, sorry, my keyword goes here, and then my URL is here. What this tool is going to do also to help me create better content is it's going to look at our sites. It's going to vectorize all the content, and then it's going to look at it from a more of a scientific perspective. It's going to do vector-based analysis on my content versus the top rating content and give me some other further insight that I could use to better optimize my pages. It's going to take a little bit to run. Here's the top performing content, why it performs well. They have the highest similarity score at 7.782, which means that they're comprehensively covering this topic. Here's why it performs well. What does my page do well? Well, it does a pretty good job of structure and kind of having that high level content, but it's lacking those comprehensive sections, the effectiveness, which we already saw, right, in our mind mapping. I don't really talk about how it differs very well from traditional SEO, and I don't have as actionable of a step for making this happen. So it's kind of cool to see here that the vector analysis came to the same conclusion as we did looking at our own content within Notebook LM. Now, what's cool about this is it'll give me a summary of all the different pages. It'll give me the top content sections and where it came from. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The top 5 content sections are not on my site, but I do have some content that's ranking high in the top 10 here. So I can go ahead and take this report. I can take some of these actions that I can in recommendations and put those into play as well. And again, it's giving me places to cite. I can't say this enough. If you are using content from somebody else, if you're using it even to inspire you, give them credit and cite them. Even if they're in the similar space with you, even if they're doing similar things as you, it's important to do that because 1, it's the ethical thing to do. 2, it also shows that you know what you're talking about. It's validating your research, especially if you're not ranking. These sites already are ranking. So if you're citing them, these engines, these algorithms are going to go, okay, these are trustworthy sources. So I'm going to take all of this back and I'm going to start to restructure my content. I already know my content structured pretty well, but I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this whole page. I'm going to add in the sections that I'm missing. I'm going to upload that page into my website again. And then, and this is just something I like to do, I go to Search Console and I push index, and then I'm going to annotate when I made these changes. And then we're going to see how this content performs over time. All right, so I'm going to get to work on the content. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to run my content again in this vector-based analysis to see if it's improved and how I'm being cited now as opposed to how I was being cited before. And this test I'm going to run specifically in Hugging Face first, just to see how it goes well here. And then I'm going to also see if my new content is being seen as a better source here. All right. So I've taken quite a bit of time and reworked this entire page, the structure, all the different sections. So I'm doing this real time. We're going to now run this new page in the same test that we did earlier here with this vector-based content analysis. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to go ahead and pull all these same tools. Now, this tool will continually give me recommendations because that's what it's designed to do. So even if it's like, you know, we see massive improvement, it'll probably still like give me tons of areas to improve because, again, it's a computer program and it has some rules for things that it's supposed to do. But let's go ahead and run the analysis this time and see if we made any improvements to our content. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to run this and just see how we're doing with retrieval here in Notebook LM. So I'm going to take the URL and click website link and paste that in here and add it as a link as well. All right, this is almost done. It's still generating the report. This should have crawled already. So let me go ahead and ask, what is generative engine optimization? GEO. Now, in my previous videos, I was being cited some, but not as much. So the goal here is to see, all right, are we being cited more frequently than the past? All right, that is the PDF. This right here is Mangles. This is my article now being cited in the top 3, which is really good to see. Here is my article again being cited, which is really good to see. There we go. Generative responses. That's my article again. So I'm already getting better link retrieval within Notebook LM using my updated content. Now let's see if this is doing well too. All right, so AIO SEO is still doing very, very well, which is fine to see. But let's go to the top content. You noticed before I was only 1 time in the top 10. Now I'm actually being cited as a top source 3 different times, and I actually have the highest scored content, which is my definition section with the synonyms. So while this may not be perfect, I can already see that my score has elevated quite substantially. My page has more chunks. I'm covering a ton of facets. While I may not be the highest average score, I'm much higher than I was before. We can go over here and let's look at the page summaries. My content was here. My average 4.7, highest 7.5. Now my average is 4.3, but a 7.8 for max similarity. And the reason this might have gone down a little bit on average is I've covered a number of different facets in this new piece of content. So I've already seen that my top content is actually being cited the highest. I'm still within that range, even with AI SEO, which is the first one. I'm very, very similar here. And my max similarity score is much higher as well. I've got good definitions. I've got good focus of importance. It's not reading all of the visual effects here, and it may not have seen the comparison table either. So this isn't a foolproof strategy. It's just giving me some insights. What I also really like that I'm seeing here is that I am being cited a lot more throughout this entire document when it comes to being retrieved in these different sections. So now this piece of content is up. It's on my site. What I'm going to do is send it over to be re-indexed and recrawled, and then I can track from here to see, am I starting to earn some of that visibility that I wasn't earning before. This is a trial and error process. It's something that it's going to take time and a lot of that mixture of art and science to see what's going to make the most sense. So I hope you found this helpful. I'd love to know what you guys are doing when it comes to optimizing for generative engine optimization. I'll make sure to link all the different resources, including that vector-based tool that I created using Hugging Space and Gradio. You're just going to need an open API key in order to make that work. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, happy marketing.